How much retribution for an injustice is justified? For example, if someone punches you in the face, carpet bombing his house would be a bit excessive, but would beating his ass be justified? Or would anything other than another punch be too much? Well, today we're going to be answering that question by doing something I haven't done in years, winning a sub 200 science victory without cheating or editing the map. And the save we're going to be using is in Korea or the Mayans. It's going to be Gran Colombia, led by the domination-focused Simon Bolivar, whose extra move speed, great general, and unique cavalry will be used to scientifically dominate the world through force. But if we face even a single obstacle or make even one mistake, then this game will be over. The starting position doesn't matter. We only need to get one thing: the fastest horseback riding you have ever seen, requiring 2 sources of horses, killing a unit with a slinger, and enough production to speedrun our horseman assembly line. Because our first goal is to take out a whole other civilization to pull ahead technologically, but the issue is, for us to accomplish such a task, I will have to go all in on military, and even more riskier, build horsemen, who, well, quicker to obtain than swordsmen and gel well with Simon's extra move speed and free general, have no way of taking out walls, and so we have to pray we get horseback riding as fast as possible. And the tribal village understood the assignment, giving us something even more instrumental than a relic, a builder. But that's not the only thing we need to spawn near, as Jayavarman is the perfect first victim, a religious-focused civ whose tech path will be opposite to walls or military technology, which is what we are trying to speedrun by killing a barbarian with our slinger to boost our first technology. In fact, this game has been going so well, I might change my mind. Who needs a sub 200 science game? We'll get a sub 200 domination game. Haven't done one of those in a while.
Ta là Triệu Trinh Nương, nữ tướng quân mặc chiếc áo.
This will not be a domination game. What's surprising is that my builder was the one to meet Vietnam because his path to go back home and get the horses was blocked by barbarians, and they're not moving. Eventually, the city-state ends up eliminating the straggler, giving my builder a clear path to get both the horse resource as well as the boost to horseback riding. But even if this builder was captured, we would have obtained the second from the tribal village northwest of here we swiped from Khmer, who would normally be the best option to go after first, since the Maui usually don't settle their capital until around the Cold War, but in the Better Balanced Start mod, they aren't placed in the middle of the ocean, so jury's still out. Which is fine, since my detour to mining will give me more than enough time to think at the cost of slowing down my start. The reason for that is so we can both work the gems to sell for money to buy a horseman, as well as give us the ability to chop forests to speed up horseman production. And in the meantime, our capital can have time to build a settler we put due north to increase the loyalty pressure for our inevitable war, which will be significantly boosted thanks to the golden age we are definitely getting. The third settler does the same, leaving the only thing we need to work on being our production, which is pitiful. This is, however, soon boosted with the Pantheon that gives production to strategic resources, while military tradition gives another 50% boost to cavalry class units. And the faith might mesh well with the Khmer holy sites we are about to steal, since Khmer already has his walls up, which is a problem. Mainly because the Khmer are also in a golden age, so our loyalty boost will be null and void, but the main benefit of this next age was our free Commandante General for 5 combat strength to all units. Units that were constructed at rapid speed thanks to our production and gold numbers before being placed on the Khmer border along with our unique general, which worries Jayavarman significantly. We mean no harm, we were just admiring your low taper fade. Ah, that's nice. Wait a minute. This is it. We have to take out all 4 of his cities before walls. The alternative? Well, check out the Alexander video if you really want to see that. But to avoid a rerun of that fate, the most important city is his capital, Angkor, Thom, with its central location and population. Whoever ends the war in control of that city will win this conflict. But to get there, we have to take out this stroke-inducing city, which is a problem thanks to the chariot that is increasing its combat strength. But with all this farmland around and the horsemen mobilized mobility boosted by Gran Colombia, we're able to run around and pillage for health whenever we get low before surrounding the city and taking it out. But the city won't stay loyal for long, and there are only so many protesters Magnus can gun down before we get Bashard, as our sights are now firmly set on the Titan. And unlike the first city, the element of surprise is no longer on our side, as the capital is a fortified defense and Izmir turns away from getting walls if they researched even a few military techs. Those fears are unfortunately confirmed, as the military tech they've researched was ironworking, giving them a swordsman who's just as strong as our horsemen, but with our fortified position and Commandante General, the swordsman is facing an uphill battle that swiftly leaves him vulnerable to elimination, opening the gates to Angkor Thom. While we were able to surround the city, there are far fewer farms to be pillaged than before, and with reinforcements incoming, we had to take this city out and fast. However, our luck was quickly running dry, as their warrior we needed to displace to surround the city was promoted, and our horsemen were taking it from all angles as a quarter of our army was forced to retreat. And it gets worse, as their new spearman completely counters our cavalry, who is getting swiftly overwhelmed. Even moving my horse units above the river line is only delaying the inevitable. We need an X factor. An X factor that is the main reason why I even chose Gran Colombia, a great general. Both generals under my command stack, granting 10 combat strength to all cavalry units nearby, and through some shifting of units around the river line, we are able to prevent the spearmen from holding a ditty party at my address, giving us just enough time to take the Khmer capital without suffering any losses. And after the capital fell, this war was all but over, as the rest of the Khmer Empire swiftly fell, and our empire emerged as the force to be reckoned with, putting ourselves far ahead of where we would otherwise be and in position to win in 200 turns. But that was still a long ways away, and as of now, this war had taken a lot out of us. And while continuing against Khmer or Vietnam might be possible, it was unwise. If we want to win this game, then we have to stabilize the situation, build up, and explode past the AI and yields before we can really focus on the turn 200 benchmark. And the way to do that is through the use of the former Khmer cities, more specifically their holy sites, because we will get a second straight golden age, and monumentality coupled with the incoming feudalism will allow us to develop to the top of the totem pole in no time. Before that, we have to ensure our safety, which we do in the north, but our focus should have been down south where another invasion force was launching. But with my horsemen in general, we turn the vanguard into a memory while he moves to eliminate the barb camp. With military matters looking settled, we focus on culture, where Bengala's promotion pushes us over the hump and to feudalism just as the next age is coming to a close. And the remnants of the previous great age, the ones now jobless, are used as pseudo-scouts to uncover the rest of the map, since the conquest portion of this challenge is now over. We see some benefits meeting Mongolia, but led by Kublai Khan, so as long as my newborn cousin doesn't tag in, he shouldn't be too much of a problem. In fact, this game shouldn't be too much of a problem in general, what with the cities and yields spreading just as the new age comes in, with monumentality as our dedication. A dedication that'll be used to the fullest after fully repairing all the holy sites for our soon-to-be peaceful medieval age. Well, it was going to be peaceful, but the sins of my past had finally caught up to me. But as long as it isn't Khmer or Vietnam, I'm sure it was both. My worst nightmare has been realized, and it was about to get a whole lot worse. Khmer makes the first move with nothing but warriors and archers, units my horsemen begin making quick work of. But I wasn't expecting Vietnam to tag in with the knight. This unit outclasses me in every which way, and it was about to show, almost one-shotting my horsemen. I have nothing to combat this medieval walking Auschwitz, so I'm forced to go and buy a man-at-arms from a barb camp to counter. But it would take a while for him to get there. In the meantime, a Vietnamese ballista comes in, and with how weak our cities are, it would take but a few shots to eliminate whatever city they wanted. My only hope is to get Kublai to join, but he heard my earlier comment and told me to go at it alone with my better leader. During this chaos, my archers, virginity, and dignity were lost to these rampaging knights, as I was left to hope that my wall would get built before their ballista could arrive. A ballista I attempt to intercept with the horsemen, but the next turn it went from worse to crisis. The unique unit of Voi Xian, or as I like to call it, Moi Xian, since it's about to put a collar on me and have me peeing on fire hydrants. And with their vampire, you have another unkillable unit just as strong as their knight. This was looking hopeless. I would literally need everything just to survive against Vietnam, who I forgot had a combat bonus in forests and jungles, of which there are many. But my luck began to turn around when I made a military alliance with Mongolia, who himself was at war with Khmer for the 5 combat strength. And with my walls and man-at-arms making its appearance, we are able to eviscerate his second wave while the vampire moved east to limit the Vietnamese damage before the bulk of my forces could arrive. As of now, we had to survive another 13 turns in order to make peace. But with the Voi Chien in rough terrain, this would be a gargantuan ask. Luckily, we finally unlocked the courser to upgrade our horsemen, and with our great generals and military alliance, we were able to wipe out the rest of the Maui. And after allying with Buenos Aires, Khmer had bigger things to worry about as our attention turned to our biggest challenge. The archers we've been building are not super effective against the Voi Chien, but after a few promotions and the general, they were more than enough to chip away at them. And after one last chip to finally eliminate their knight, the biggest threat to our survival was finally thwarted. And as our forces, formerly split into 2, converged into 1, we finally eliminated the rest of Vietnam, saving ourselves with just 3 turns remaining as we were able to sue for peace and lose none of our ill-gotten gains. But we didn't leave this war unscathed. Because of the invasion, we were not able to buy that many builders nor settle every city we wanted, instead using those resources to build military units and buildings, as this setback completely overwrote our earlier gains. The sub-200 science victory was now looking impossible, and after making that realization, I determined that this interference with my dopamine could not go unpunished. We had to get into a position to not only win the game, but to take out the 2 civs who ruined my sub-200 game. Thankfully, we still have a golden age and get to work buying builders who chop out districts as we are near industrialization, which will be pivotal in building the planes and tanks we need. So as we build up our war-ravaged nation, our yields skyrocket in a way that should have happened a few hundred turns ago, allowing us to obtain research labs before any other civ, which in turn further increases our science yield, as the aerodromes are coming in soon. But science is useless without production, and so for the 3rd straight golden age, Heartbeat of Steam gives us huge production numbers to build all the planes we need. But we don't actually need planes for this next bit because of our unique unit, the Yanero. And as our armies, generals, and units line up against the border, we go for the weak link in this axis of liberation as we are once again back at war. At the same time, artillery was unlocked, and with the siege balloon, we were able to attack from a safe distance. But the Yanero unique unit was a little outdated at this time, and that was all but confirmed with these 2 encampments making things extremely difficult. Thankfully, there were enough farms to pillage, and when things were looking really bad, we sacrificed a general to heal our Yanero, allowing us to take the city next turn through unrelenting artillery fire. After this, I decided that was enough playing with our unique unit, upgrading to helicopters while our newly built navy would look to blockade their capital. That stood no chance against our armies. Things weren't looking good for Khmer, and they were about to get a whole lot worse. Our first bomber is fit for surface, and it's safe to say that the weakest civ in this game was not going to last for much longer, wiping out Khmer in the next couple of turns, exacting my revenge on the west, and building an insurmountable lead for whatever victory type I wanted. But while this game was going to be easy to win, there was still another civ I needed to finish off. And while our navy would be of no use, I have a trump card. For the past 20 turns, I've been building aerodromes and planes everywhere, and after modernizing our forces, our army was about as good as it could be. But there was still the issue of Vietnam getting 10 combat strength and 2 move speed in their territory. How would I deal with the Viet Cong popping out from underneath me, tickling my nutsack, and disappearing back into the luscious jungle? I pondered that question while declaring a war of retribution against them, before I realized that there was one thing even their defensive bonuses could not stop: the sun. And while I win the easiest science victory of my life, but still well above turn 200, you might be asking, was the retribution I enacted justified? Not at all, but it was fun.